The moment has come where we've all been waiting for, where three of Akwa Ibom's finest broadcasters begin a series of the man Umo Eno. And I am honored to be the team lead of this particular series. I'm Rose Akai, and I would be introducing my colleagues this evening as we begin what will be one of the most talked about interviews to the run-up to the 2023 elections in Akwa Ibom. Let me first welcome the boss, and this particular production is a Bush House Nigeria production. It is Michael Bush. Good evening. And
many thanks. So nice to be here.
Yes, it's actually good that I'm on this other side.
Sure.
Welcoming you.
Closer to power, you know.
Yes, you know.
Closer to power.
Normally it's always you.
Absolutely.
This time.
Absolutely.
So it shows that you believe in a gender-friendly.
Always.
Which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
All right. So my other colleague this evening is broadcaster, come politician. He is Itoro Colomba.
Thank you, Rosa. Good evening, everybody.
Yes,
Good evening.
and you have high hopes for this.
Oh, fantastic. It's an honor to be part of this great production. And as you said, it's going to run for 1 year. And who knows? If we go the way of what Bush does with the Global Baba, it can't even be extended beyond 1 year. You never can tell. Never can tell.
But the man, the reason we are here, we start this way. The political drums are already beating, and the song that they are hearing are songs that have inspired the players to begin the dance. But one man has left the noise and has decided to talk with us for the next 2 hours as we look at his life, his reason for wanting to become the next governor of Akwa Ibom State, and so many other interesting aspects that we'll get to bring on Akwa Ibom and the world, because this is a global event. Please make welcome the PDP candidate of 2023 in the Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Basi Umo Eno. Good evening.
There you go again. Umo
Basi Eno.
Before you get into
Thank you for that correction. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You ready for us?
I'm good.
The boss.
Yes.
Want to take question?
Yeah, I don't know whether that's the question. But first, before I go to the governorship candidate, PDP, for Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umo Basi Eno, who is our studio guest, I just wanted to take out the time and thank our sponsors and supporters. It's very important because without them, I'm not sure we'll be doing this. I'd like to start with Dr. Frank Udoigbeyon. He did everything to make sure we are here today. So to Dr. Gloriated, so to Dr. Nsikan Linus Nkang, and so to why not Minister Okonoko, not forgetting Minister Frank Achibong, and of course Dr. Henry Achibong. Okay, so we're good to go. Very nice to see you.
My pleasure.
So nice to see you.
Always a pleasure.
You remember, I came with Bush House Nigeria team to Eket, and we talked. I think that was in 2017, 2018. We talked at length, and he asked me, the way things are going, are you going to be a politician? And all the answers he gave me. But I'm not going to start shooting the questions because the captain for this team would be the one running that. My own is just to say that recently your wife of many years said that you are a golden boy. Are you a golden boy? Do you consider yourself a golden boy? What happened between both of you after she said that publicly?
Oh, well, thank you first of all for the privilege of being on a live studio, and I'd like to thank all the people around the world, particularly in Akwa Ibom, and those of you who have had your PVCs, I'd like to thank you. We hope you'll enjoy the evening with us as I take questions and try to clarify gray areas personally. The truth about, you remember how the Golden Boy started? It was from a hate speech, if you remember.
Oh.
Yes. Everything everything has been thrown at me, and so this was part of a hate speech that I am an albino and all of that. And so she came up to say, well, to you it may be an albino, but to her, for her, with her, I'm a golden boy. And so it resonates.
Absolutely.
And that was just it. You see, there's always a way that if people throw lemon at you, you make lemonade out of it. And so I think I thank her, celebrate her, and then I step back to say, that's true, I'm golden, really.
Oh, yeah, golden boy. Okay. Yes.
Before you accepted the name Golden Boy, how did all of those, you said hate speech, how did you take it?
I am told it's one of the things you get in politics, and unfortunately, the definition of politics that I now have is not what I was taught in school. And I think we need to really take time, because if we don't take time to say what it is, what politics is, we will be sending the wrong signals to our younger generation. Someone will lie, someone will do hate speeches, someone will say things and they say, no, it's politics. And so it seems to be a new normal in politics that people, so you are told to take it in its strides, and I'm taking everything in its strides, and I'm going on. One of the things I've decided not to do is not to be distracted, because that's the reason for all of this. So I've decided never to be distracted, keep your eyes on the ball, remain focused, and do what you're doing, and that's it. So God keeps turning those things. Basically, that was meant to hurt you, and it turns around for your good.
All right, sir. So let's go back in time and begin to look at your childhood days. Tell us how it was like growing up. Talk about your parents. Oftentimes you talk about your father, a police officer. You talk about your mother, a petty trader. But there could be some perspectives to, stories around them that you have not yet told the Akwa Ibom people. Your childhood days.
Well, it's everybody knows now that I'm a barrack boy. Grew up in the barrack. My father was a police officer, like you know too well. My mother was a petty trader, and they loved the Lord. My father was a very strict disciplinarian, and that is what has helped mold my life. And decent man. And we grew up in a community. The barracks itself is a community, and so we had, if I say we had a communal sort of living, where everyone knew everybody else, and good time. You're taught to tolerate, accommodate people, and take people for who they are. No biases, no segregation, because you're doing everything together. You go to fetch water together, you play together, sometimes you even walk together, So that's my early days growing up. For me, it was fun. Really, really, it was fun. Because you had the privilege of coming together with a whole lot of people. And you had friends you grew up with. Nothing spectacular.
It's obvious by virtue of the nature of your, the kind of work your father did. It was mostly itinerance. How much of Nigeria do you know?
I've lived in Lagos, then Enugu, then some part in Kaduna, Ibadan. As we moved around with him too anyway. So I know a bit of Nigeria.
About the languages?
I speak, of course, I speak Ibibio, which is my mother tongue, right. And try to speak English, and speak Yoruba.
Oh, great.
Try a little bit of Hausa, because by the time they moved to Kaduna, I had already become a grown-up man, so I was just visiting and not staying with them fully, but I picked a little bit. And so that's what it is.
You spent almost all your adult life. Yeah, I know we will still be going to and fro like that, or back and forth. But it's easy to see that you like trading, and your mother was a petty trader. Where did you get all of this trading savvy from?
No, my mother. You know, we lived in the police barracks, and like I said to I would say to young people, your early life is important. My mother was a trader. My father, a police officer who worked in police college, and just documentation, files, and all of that, and lived only on his income, as it were. So my mom had to support the home. She sold minerals and Coke, Fanta, and all of that, and we had to help her. I remember helping my mother sell drinks, you know.
What does that mean? Hawk drinks?
Hawk drinks. I used to
carry on my head?
Yes, on my head. And I'll go through, we had a mechanic village.
That's in Lagos.
In Lagos. And so I'll go through the mechanics and I'll pass through to the airport, and because that's where you have people buy drinks. And I'll do that. Then come back home, shower, get dressed, and go to school.
You used to go to afternoon school?
Yes, we had, my secondary school, we had Victoria High School 1 and Victoria High School 2. Victoria High School 1 was the morning session, Victoria High School 2 was the afternoon session. So you have to, it was part of our chores at home, you have to help. Because really, if you didn't help her, my father would pay your school fees, do the basic things, but my mother will always help, and where would she get it from? You know, and so we had to help.
Were you ever abused while you were walking?
No. Incidentally, one good thing, you know, many years after, I'll tell you this, the same street I used to hawk those drinks to the airport was where I bought my land off Medical Road in Ikeja. And so I built my first house there, and the same mechanics were still there, and so this is so Ibom now. Ibom, I used to bring drinks for us, you know, and everybody will, like, some of them will bring their children, talk to this child, you know, tell him how you started and all of that, you know. So for me it was like, how come I'm back here among these people, you know, the same Oyibo that I used to hawk drink and is now having a house on the streets, you know, and so that's how God works. So I didn't have it, nobody. Of course, you know, growing up, one of the things you will take away from a barrack boy is that he will be the one to
abuse.
So you can't, you know, and one of the things that taught me is that I can't be easily intimidated. Because of my parental upbringing, I'll give all the respect, but that doesn't mean I'm weak or intimidated. So. And we go in groups anyway. We go in groups, so it's funny. We're all selling and we're in groups from the barracks. So how will you intimidate or abuse us? How?
As you recollect your childhood, what is the singular what would you say has been the experience that has stayed with you, I mean, until now, a full-blown adult, you know, with grandchildren?
Experience in terms of
your childhood, you know, early youth, whatever experience has shaped you?
I took responsibility quite early.
How early was that? When you started
very early. See, I'll tell you a story, and maybe that will help you understand. I have a senior brother, but they lived at home. My father would come back from work at 3:45 because he must listen to the 4 o'clock news. So he gets back from work, I think they close at 3:30, it takes him about 15 minutes to walk home, and then he will listen to the news at 4 o'clock before he will have his lunch. My brother came visiting, and that morning he had tuned up the radio from where it was. He played some music, and I told him, you have done something wrong. So I was eagerly waiting, to make that report, you know. And so my father came back. Truth, as on the radio, he knew that something went wrong. He so mastered the point because you had to tune it. So he knew and said, Umo, and said, Papa, I said, come. I went and said, what happened to the radio? Oh, I know. Tuned it. I was expecting him to, you know, discipline him. So he said, okay, go and bring the cane. So I went, looked for a very good cane. Then, as I arrived, he said to me, stretch your hands.
What did I do?
Yeah. He said, yes, you are the one living here. You should have told him. I said, no, Papa, he's the single one. Yeah. So that was the first time my mom would ever intervene and said, mine. You won't beat him.
Your mom called your father mine?
Mine, yeah.
Oh, mine. How do you call your own wife?
Kemi.
Okay.
She says, I call her by name, her pet name. So mine, you won't beat him. This is the senior one. Said, no, mine, you won't understand. This is the one living with me. And I'm training him to provide leadership for all those people. So he should take responsibility. And so I'm beating him because I feel he should have stood up. And this is my senior, stood up to do what? But you can see how I took responsibility early enough for even my older brother, my key brothers. And so that I think came quite early for me.
Okay. All right, sir. I would like you to take us through your career path. Let's go into that, trajectory. You often would tell anybody who cares to listen. You've always been in the hospitality industry, So when did all this start? Up until when you founded Royalty, where were you? What were you doing? When did it all start? And how has the journey been?
Well, you see, I started life quite early. Went to normal primary school, and of course, my parents, my dad again, then we couldn't speak Ibom fluently because we lived in Lagos, so they decided to send us to back home so that we can go to school and get fluent with the Ibom language. So came to St. Francis Secondary School in 1975, and then I left in 1977 because I couldn't cope. The environment wasn't too conducive for me, to be honest. There were many things, senior students, some kind of, now the abuse you talked about.
They were bullied.
Yes, so I couldn't stand all of that. So I left, I got sickly too. So I left and I went back to Lagos, 77, continued my school. Now I have to say something because I've read a few things that sometimes you may need to. I left in class 2 in St. Francis and arrived Lagos. And when you go on that kind of transfer, you have to repeat that class. So I repeated class 2 in Lagos, in Victoria High School.
What year was this? 1977?
1977. I repeated class. So I was in class 2J and repeated class, and then went on to finish in 1981. Then, of course, I didn't get all my papers, as it were. But that's the motivation for me then was, how do I help my family? How do I help? Because I knew that the take home for my dad wasn't enough. And at this time, we have outgrown selling soft drinks for my mom. And how do we take care of the family? So I opted to start work. So started work quite early, and joined the bank, Union Bank, 40 Marina. I was in the business advisory department and worked in 40 Marina. In 1983, I had to take my papers again. And then but the beauty of all of those was that from the bank, I had an offer, Betola Machine Tools.
Okay. Owned by an economan.
Yes, Mr. Albert Young is alive, and he's a man I respect very well. He taught me business. He took me out of the bank and told me, look, you need to come and work for me. I like you, I like what you do. And so I worked for him and then moved on to being hired by a company called Norman Investments, you know, and then that's how we grew. And then, of course, worked there for so many years. And in 1995, I needed to move on. Some things happened and it was just time to move on. And so we did a visibility study and I found out that there is an opening in Akwa Ibom. Actually, I came home, I think I was building my family house in the village. So each time you come, you have to stay in Akwa River Hotel and you have to book ahead. I remember sleeping in my car one night because there was no accommodation anywhere. So Exxon, then Mobil, was naked. So to my mind, I just asked, why would we have this multinational here and then we don't have a hotel around them? And so that was an opportunity I saw. And so the next morning I went, asked for the manager, and they took me to a man called Alajibiti Bishi. And I asked to see him, I spoke with him, he was very receptive. And I said to him, please, I need help. You don't have hotels around here. He said, we don't. So if I give you a hotel, will you patronize me? He said, like yesterday, are you going to manufacture one? So I said, okay, would you do me a favor? Can you give me a non-committal letter of intent so I can talk to the banks? I said, I'll give you. So he took me to the operational manager who was an American, spoke to the man, and they gave me a letter of intent, and so I took to the bank. I took that letter to Fidelity Bank and met again a young woman who I recently got in contact with again. One Mrs. Juliet Achibong. I'm mentioning names so you could, because a lot of people think this is just fairy tale. Now it looks like fairy tale, but in between the lines, it wasn't easy. They were nice. I had to sleep without eating. I had 5 brothers and a sister to take care of in school because my father died. No sooner I started work, my father died in 1987. So I was 23 at the time, and my mother was there. And so there was a lot of responsibility. You had to really, you just keep going. You don't know what was going to happen. So she helped me, and with the letter of intent, she walked through a facility and granted me the loan. It was a 10 million naira facility. Gave 5 initially, gave 5 after they see the progress of work. Mrs. Juliet Achibong now lives in Calabar with the husband, and I think she's retired now. And that's how we started, because we found an opportunity, and I had to take that opportunity. So I resigned from my work and had to face royalty. And of course I had to, am I permitted to speak in vernacular?
Yeah, at some point of the program we will get into vernacular.
There's this people adage, you understand that kind of thing. So I stayed there, I lived there, and that's how we started. And royalty started
in 1995.
We started the project in 1995, finished in 1997, opened our doors on the 11th of December 1997. 5 rooms, like I've said to everybody, and but we were determined to start. So we started, and Mobil took over immediately.
Do you remember the name of the first client, seeing that you're very good at recalling names?
Mobil.
Okay, they took
Okay.
it.
I mean, they were waiting. They were actually always coming to inspect. They were waiting. You know, I don't want to sound, you know, too boastful, but Royalty was about one of the first hotels that had a semblance of an international hotel in AKS. At least let me leave it at AKS. I don't know about Akwa, so you don't, you know. But so they were interested. So no sooner we finished, they took the farm.
I'm just wondering, 25 years after, you still showed tremendous humility when you're doing service. I have seen you holding water for a client to wash his hands to eat and all of that. I'm wondering, what did you do? What role, what position did you occupy when the hotel started in 25 years ago? Do you remember the kind of things you did?
No, you see, we started, we're not much, so we're very few, all of us had to work.
Did you sweep the floor, for instance?
Of course, I'll mop the floor. You see, leadership means you have to lead from the front. And the hospitality industry will teach you how to be humble. If anybody is in the hospitality industry and is not humble, then I don't know where else you will learn, because the customer is king. We're introducing something new, and you needed people to know you. So we serve, we have our duties, we divide it, we have our morning briefing. Okay, today you will do this, today you will do this, I'll be running the bar, I'll be in the restaurant, and then because you have to provide leadership, you have to train those staff so they see what, they do what you do, you know. So we all work together, and I grew up, you know, for me it was really, it's still nothing, it's service, it's service.
For most business people, saying that you started way back in 1995, what obstacles did you face at that time that probably at the point you just told yourself, you know what, I'm done with this hotel business? Did you ever get to that point, if there ever was?
I don't remember. There will always be challenges. There will always be challenges, but, you know, as you surmount these challenges, you're happy. But to think of quitting the business, no. Because I knew that this was my lifeline. There was no other way. I had borrowed money from the banks, you had put money there, you had to pay back the loan, you had to. So thinking of quitting, I'm really not a quitter.
Okay, so you're on the threshold of becoming the next governor of Akwa Ibom State, by God's grace. But about 25 years ago, I might not be so sure, but some years ago, you started going by the appellation, the governor, the governor of royalty. Now tell us, was there any nexus between, is there something prophetic about your having given yourself that tag way back, you know, in time, as compared to the realities of the moment?
You say prophetic, but I don't think 25 years ago you would even think you're struggling for survival. So what's your business with, you know? But why did I choose to answer the title governor? One day I just felt I wanted to be different, so I told my wife I don't want to go by the name MD. It's a big title, and president, or you know what? I want to stay on top of this business. I want to live on site. So she said to me, "You want to govern your business?" I said yes. So I now said, "Okay." So then call me the governor, and she said, "Okay, you want to be called the governor?" And we were just joking.
Can I
And
just
so it became.
say that it looks like your wife always gives you the names. She gave you Golden Boy.
She's gifted with that. The name of the church, she gave the name. So she's good. She's good. We can just be talking about certain things, and she comes up. She's very creative, to be honest with you. She is creative.
Is that one of the reasons you married her?
I didn't know about creativity when I married her. I just knew she was a child of God. She was, she had very disciplined parents, and she was disciplined herself. We were together in the choir, and so we met. But our creativity, of course, I started noticing as we started courting, you know.
All right. So it took you to, you know, the governorship and all of that. At what point did you ever think of getting into public service?
You don't think of getting into public service. You are invited into public service. I was busy doing my business. 2004, the then governor, Ibom, Victor Atta, I need to thank him so much because he gave us that early exposure. We wanted to host the World Conference of Mayors, and we had just started business, and there was no, I think he wanted to take it out of Uyo, and there was no other place. They went around everywhere. Mr. Joe Kwon was the commissioner for special duties then, and in his words to me later, he had inspected every other place, and he came to royalty and said, we'll do it here, because he found it better. So the World Conference of Mayors was held in Royalty Hotel. The governor saw the way we worked. He saw how we were able to host over 200 people for about 10 days, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and putting that, and His Excellency was also sleeping in the hotel. So I think he made his assessment, and in 2004 he invited me to come and be the chairman of the Hotel and Tourism Board. That was my first entry into public service, and we did the bit we could, and then left in 2007 when I think when the administration was over, thereabout, and I went back to my business. Never bothered until when His Excellency the King Emmanuel came on board, and then appointed me as the permanent executive director of Agric Investment under Kickoff to be able to take, the government had invested so much in agriculture in the state, and he wanted someone from the private sector who would bring in that private sector experience to be able to create a private sector, public-private sector partnership that will ensure that these businesses continue after he leaves office. So he invited me and appointed me as the executive director. That was how I came into government the second time, and that's how it started.
Okay, just a little follow-up. A number of questions just come to my mind. Probably because of time and lack of it, we just try to see which one and the most important to let go. So you were executive director, something agric?
Executive director, agricultural investment.
Okay. Yeah, and then from there you became one commissioner.
From there, I had one of the things that we discovered. Fadama, the World Bank, Fadama World Bank project was going on at the time, and so that's about the time I came in. That World Bank project was wrapping up, and we had to look at the deliverables. If the World Bank stops this project, what will be the take home? How do we continue to manage farmers in Akwa Ibom? So the idea of setting up the Farmers Microfinance Bank, by the way, the word Fadama is farmer in Hausa, so how do we set up a microfinance bank? So we're confronted with that, and the governor graciously instructed that I should get the bank, and with the then commissioner for Agric, we had some other people that were set up. So
from there you went on to become one commissioner, Minister of Lands and
Yes, from there I became the honorable commissioner. At the stage I was, but again, mark you, I was still the executive director. I was still the chairman of Ibom Microfinance.
Okay.
I was then still the honorary commissioner for lands and
Oh,
water
okay,
resources.
perfect. In fact, I think you even made your case worse because because I was going to ask you, there are people who, ever since we mentioned the PDP governorship candidate for the state, who have beamed so much searchlight on you in public service, and they keep wondering, what has he really achieved? What did he achieve as? What has he really achieved? What did he achieve as Honorable Commissioner Lands and Water Resources? Surely there are some things he also hold as bragging rights. Are they?
Well, you must understand, I'll tell you the few things we did. For me, it's a collective responsibility. It's working for my boss. Not that I achieved anything, but if whatever we did impacts on the administration, so it's the vision of we ran the vision of my boss. But as Commissioner for Lands and Water Resources, we had to do the Akwa GIS. That's a flagship project. The Akwa Ibom we just have to be able to know the land that we have, who owns what, how do we simplify, when you talk of ease of doing business, how do we simplify acquisition of land, how do we simplify all of, so the GIS thing, Geographic Information System, came in and we called it as Akwa GIS, and before I left, we started test running. So I am sure that by the grace of God, that was done. Part of the things we did at the time I took over, the Dakada Luxury Estate is on. The governor had a vision to have a low-density housing estate for highbrow individuals who come in through the airport. And so that was our responsibility. By the time I left, of course, you remember, the vice president came and flagged off the project. The land we're selling now, we have an experience of phase, we have staff, and things are happening there. We had paid all the, when I arrived, compensation was an issue. I know that we have paid compensation, not just on that land, on several other properties. We also tried to take back, a lot of people had encroached on government land. So when we came, we had to take back some of those land. And where you have the Emily Haven Estates now was part of the land. And we worked with the community and told them. In the Ministry of Land, we tried to ensure that we also looked at whatever outstanding there were with communities. Up to when I left, there were no more community issues. And we gave, one of the key things also was the signing of COOs. The governor graciously delegated authority to me to help clear the backlog of COOs that we had at the time. And you will know signing this COO manually a lot. So we tried to do the best we can to facilitate businesses for people. And then with the water resources, we had to, the state didn't have a water bill, and we couldn't attract funding from donor agencies because even with the federal government, you couldn't do so much. So we worked on it, set up a committee, we worked on it, and I know that by the time I left office, the water bill had gone through the House. They've done a public hearing, and because I got busy with political issues, I've not been able to follow up, but I know that once in a while when I see the staff, we talk, and I think it's receiving attention. We're able to do, there's this program, the federal government, the WASH program, and we're able to kickstart that in Akwa Ibom and went around all the 31 local government areas. I think those are some of the things we achieved in the
You even have to force it to, you have to forcefully stop him from
continuing to reel out
this achievement.
No, there are remarkable things that we did, and there are projects that could be verifiable that we brought within the period, and I must thank the staffs. They were very cooperative. We would work and close very late because as if I knew I was running for time. We needed to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our producer, Raphael, then the producer of the Umo Eno series, the man Umo Eno series, just sit down to that. We have 6 minutes to our first break. And the right one of Victoria Columba takes us.
Yes, I'd like to take you back to you've established how your relationship with Obon started. It's a story that's wrapped around excellence. A story that's wrapped around excellence. I recall a few weeks ago when the political class came to your church to appeal to them to release you, to come be of service to Akwa people. Raphael Edem, said something. It took us through memory lane and tried to recall what struck His Excellency the Governor, Governor Domi Mayo, the first day he came worshiping in your church. The way things were done, everything was in place. I'd like to ask again, could it also be, the reason the governor identified you? And I was sure there is no more to it than that, especially when we also hear stories about the fact that you might even have some remote biological relationship with Governor Domi Mayo.
I wish I had. I wish I had. I wouldn't know. All I can say is, it's only the governor that will say why. But I know that I try to do whatever I have to do well. I try to do it. I'm a stickler for details. I like to, my father used to say to us, we have security lights around our house in the barracks. So he will not let a bulb outside. He may tolerate the one inside, he may. But outside, he will tell you no. In fact, I remember vividly as a young child, he told me to move the light in our bedroom, the bulb, and put it outside. You know that once people begin to notice that that's the way they assess you, that everything, you should try and just do things properly. I'm working for a company like ExxonMobil so many years. I came away with a lot of things, a lot of training, a lot of safety issues, a lot of procedural issues, step back 5x5, you finish something, you finish ripping, you look back and be sure that everything is in place. All of that has affected who I am. I don't know, people around me complain, I ask too many questions, I look at why this should. I think that's just what it is. I'm not comfortable still in an environment that things are not working, and we know these things are not rocket science. So we try the little bit we can.
All right, we'll take our very first break right now. And
just about 4 minutes to the break.
When we return, we would go on to the other part.
Oh yeah, then we'll have 4 minutes to the break.
Our producer says we have 4 minutes.
Yes.
All right, so let's touch on the other part before we now take this break, because I think you need to drink water for the next part. We're definitely coming to ask you those questions that, especially what people want to know. Your foray into public service, and then you said something that you really do not know why the governor identified you. How is that possible if you seem to have a relationship with Governor Domi? Is it possible that you do not know why he, has said this is the man that should succeed me?
You simply do your work. He is the boss. He knows all of us, like a father who has children. You know the capabilities of each of your children. It would be very, very odd for me to sit here and say, I know why, or I'm the best, because I know probably I wasn't the best.
You didn't get to ask him this? You didn't get to ask him why me?
It's the grace of God. See, why me? He just feels it's you. He knows each and every one's competences.
When did he first whisper to you that it will be you?
When he first whispered to me, you won't believe this, would you? I like to keep that a little secret, because you won't believe it. These days.
Just try me.
No, I wish I was talking to you alone. You're talking to the world. But the truth here is, before my unveiling on January 30th, I don't think I had a clear-cut
Inkling.
Inkling about that.
We never said it would be you.
About a week or so to that date, we had some discussions, and he asked me some questions, and I told him the things I had to say. For me, it was work. And then I didn't know he was running an interview. I asked about my family, I asked about, then another time it was, okay, can you bring your wife? I like us to sit as family. And then I went, talked with my wife, and the first lady also took my wife. It was after all of that, then said, okay, this is what we're thinking, and it was.
So what was your response?
I think we just hold that. I'm interested in that response. I'm interested in whether you were shocked, what your emotions were. Let's do this first break. Please stay with us.
Yes.
So are you sure we are off
You
air?
need to be sure that.
Yeah, but we
Welcome back. It's still a ball here with Pastor Umo Eno, the standard bearer for the governorship election that holds in the first quarter of next year.
PDP.
And he represents the People's Democratic Party, and the trio of the boss himself, Michael Bush, and Prof. Rosa Kai, alongside yours truly. We're still here. Having a no holds barred session, barring the fact that campaigns have not started, so we're just being trying to be careful. So we play a foul for the law. But let me remind you that this broadcast is being carried on a number of radio stations. We have 7 radio stations and 2 TV stations. And then it's live on YouTube, and it's also it's live on Umo Eno Live. It's on Umo Eno Live. It's on Ibom State. It's on Bush House Nigeria Live. So you have a wide spectrum of choices to make to be able to either either watch or listen to us. So it's a global broadcast, and we're glad to still have it. It's a Bush House. I can never forget that. So this flagship edition, we're featuring the man himself. Now the series, which starts today, is actually entitled "The Man Umo Eno," and according to the boss, it runs till sometime in June 2023. June 2023. So it's our pleasure to still be joined by the Golden Boy. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll try to be careful, the campaigns have not started.
We left it up at,
okay, yes, this reaction, your reaction when the governor whispered to you that you were the man.
Yeah, you're shocked. You're shocked. There's no way you won't be shocked.
But are you ready for this one?
Of course, why not?
How?
Everything I've been through in life prepared me for my future, and the future belongs to God. Every step you take, your childhood, what you do, the things you do, all of that is what prepares you for your next level. So there is no classroom you're going to sit and your thoughts, everything, the challenges you face, the things you do, how you did them, everyone watching, and even if the governor was wrong, was Obongata wrong? Even if Obongata was wrong, the cross-section of people that were in that room that night, stakeholders of Akwa Ibom, were they wrong? Were they wrong? So, if destiny beckons on you, you just take it in its strides.
So you are ready to be governor of Akwa Ibom State, and you're ready, meaning really saying that you're ready for everything. The whole gamut of the knocks, the how do they call technical, the ones that they do below the belt knocks.
I've had some below the belt
for instance, and look at you, you had a fantastic, glorious business career, and somebody just wakes up and says, he didn't go to school, he doesn't have WAEC.
Yeah.
So I ask you now, Pastor Umo Eno, do you have your WAEC?
Thank you, I was expecting that. I like to look straight to the Akwa Ibom people. And say this, I saw this as a joke, you know, but I think it's been a joke taken a bit too far, because it would be unheard of, it would be unthinkable for anyone to say I don't have my West African school certificate, or I forged, you know, using the, I've read all manner of things in the media, but I'm not going to talk too much
because
it's a court, and I'm not also going to be subjected to media and internet trials. Some people have said, bring your certificate and show. They are not the authority. They are not going to be able to know whether it is real or not real. But I'd like to say to the Akwa Ibom people that I went to school, I have my school certificate, I've never had to forge, and it is not possible. I like the fact that this is in court, and I just ask the Akwa Ibom people to let the process go on, let my brother and friend Akan Okon prove it. He's the one that made the allegation. The burden of proof is on him. I've filed my certificate. He says the forged one. Let him bring the original one, or let him get the West African Examination Council to say that is not the results or the certificate I'm carrying. The day they say so, I'll backtrack.
Okay, it's even West African Examination Council, so I should have asked WAEC certificate.
Yeah.
You know, but are you in touch with Akan Okon? Continuing was a colleague on this.
He's a friend.
Do you still talk with him on the phone, for instance, since it's broke?
No, why would I talk to him?
You feel bad?
You just said he's a friend.
He's a friend, so what do you want me to say? Call him and say,
my brother, how do you think that
Maybe that would sound like trying to lobby him behind.
No. It's the truth is there is an allegation, and if it was left in the realm of speculation, fine. But now there is a court here, and it seems to say he has facts. So
are you pained by this court action?
No. Am I pained by court action? No. Am I pained by lies? Yes. Am I pained by someone saying, look, I wrote my West African school certificate 41 years ago.
41?
Yes, in 1981. I wasn't ever thinking of coming to Akwa Ibom, let alone dream of. So everywhere I'd worked in Union Bank, so I worked with a fake certificate. I'd worked in Norman Holdings, you had to go through clearance. Norman Holdings was the finance organization. You had to go through clearance with the director, with the DSS, before CBN will allow you to sit on the board. Most recently, I went to the University of Uyo, and you know I could do my first degree, do my second degree, I'm doing a PhD, and the University of Uyo will not screen my certificate. Okay, let's leave all of that. I just resigned as the chairman of Ibom Fadama Microfinance. DSS went to Abuja for the DSS. It took 3 months to be allowed under the new CBN regulation to be appointed to the board of CBN. We went through, to the board of the finance bank that's supervised by CBN. They came here, they went to my village, they went everywhere, and then recommended to the CBN, and now all those certificates were fake. I mean, you see, when people say certain things, unfortunately, we have a very gullible public that we need, and you know, everybody wants to say this. I will talk not too much about this until we're in court,
Right.
and I think I like that.
All right, let's now go to something you had said, which I know that it will also build on. When we asked you about your emergence and how you took it, you said it was like the grace of God, divine and all of that. But we do know that that has raised a lot of dust. That has even caused the faction in the PDP that has also probably birthed this court case as we see it. Honestly, would you have wished that it did not turn out this way? Would you have wished that your emergence was different, more democratic rather than the way it happened?
Why is it not democratic? How do you mean more democratic?
In your party, there is a faction. So people said it wasn't democratic. There was no. It was basically like the governor was behind it. So because he's behind it, people have to fall in line.
The governor has one vote. People came, contested, and then I emerged, and there was primaries, and I emerged. If the governor, the truth you must know is that every one of us, and we must get this very straight, every one of us that aspired, everyone, without an exception, wanted the governor's endorsement.
That's right.
Every one of us. So, if it was any one of them, what would I have done? So, it turned out to be me by the special grace of God. So, and we went through the process. The governor saying, this is the man I prefer. They didn't stop the process. They didn't stop the process. They didn't. And each of them, all of them put together, they can now look back and talk back at the governor and say, you shouldn't have chosen, or shouldn't have had a preferred candidate. Every one of them, without an exception, had always had preferred candidates, even as councillors, even as chairmen of local government. So, what's strange about saying, this is the one, I think of all of this, this is what the person I like.
But with what has happened so far, sorry, Toro, but with what has happened so far, would you have wished that it didn't turn out this way? Would you have wished that there was a better way?
No, what's the better way?
So that the problem in the PDP.
There's no problem in the PDP.
We know already as it is. No, sorry,
there are people, there are people are bound to be aggrieved. In any election, in any other party, you look around, people have been aggrieved. And it depends on how they manage that grievance, This is an open race. All of us were in it, and we needed an endorsement. Some of them picked up other endorsements. I picked up several other endorsements. We're in a race together. So there is really nothing about the process, The governor simply will say, okay, I prefer this person. And he has just one vote anyway, which he didn't even exercise.
He did it.
Which he didn't even exercise.
He did it. No thanks to what the National Assembly did. Yes.
Which he didn't exercise. So the process went through, and I emerged, and then people are bound to be aggrieved, and that's why there's room for reconciliation. You reach out to people and talk to them and try to get them to see that there could only be one seat for a governor or any other seat. But there could be, the government is for everybody. We could work together and achieve the same goal. But the problem we have today, and I must say this, is that a lot of us have a faulty sense of entitlement. That should have been made, should have been shy.
But are you reaching out? Are you talking with them?
I am talking to people.
Is anyone listening to you?
Well, the party has set up a reconciliation committee.
That's right.
And I'm also reaching out on my own to people. Some I'm reaching through other people, and we're trying to see how we can walk this back.
Have you had any positive feedback from any of these persons?
Well, some are positive, yes. And it's a process.
All right, so maybe I should, as a PDP person, as a standard member of the party.
Okay, you are.
Can we run away from that? It's reality, So maybe I should, I should be quick to, to let Rose know that there's no faction in PDP. We don't have two parallel. It's the executive.
There may not be
faction.
a parallel party, but we know that there are
the issues. These issues are only natural. You know,
even at Comfort FM, they are rumbling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even at Bush House, Nigeria, they are rumbling.
So let's move a bit from that. So let's
So you
take
expected your dad
Yeah.
to give you this glass of among your siblings, and your dad didn't give you and gave it to maybe someone else. You feel bad, don't you?
Absolutely.
So it's natural.
Okay, so let's move away from that, but not completely anyway. But let's take you back to you were in this stage. You were still serving as honorable commissioner when the governor kept telling who kept to listen. He kept bringing, you know, the variables, the qualifications of the man he looked forward to succeeding him to the table. And one of the things he kept saying was that his potential successor, you know, would be a man that has some international email. The question is, do you have an international?
You really will have to, with all due respect to His Excellency, you may have to ask him to explain what he meant by international email. But the truth is, in the same token he has said, if you can't run a kiosk, you cannot run a supermarket. I think what the governor, I am thinking, was referring to here was someone who has a tangible proof of hard work on the ground, who has, that Akwa Ibom people can see, someone who has been on the ground, who has proven record of hard work, and people can see that this man has a wide range of interaction and contacts in the business world that can bring it to bear. And I've told you in the various assignments I have done, I have tried to bring all of those to bear. So maybe it could have been a figure of speech.
But do you have an international email?
What do you mean by international email?
Do you have the email you write abroad the answers?
So that's, I don't know, but you know, for me, the truth is, the governor needed someone who he feels, you know, in his opinion, will be able to build on the successes and consolidate on what
Let's just get on Facebook. By the way, we also have SMSs coming from across the world as well as Facebook. So let's go on Facebook and Edoma Jonah, right? Awesome and scintillating interview. Please ask Pastor Umo Eno what he will do to ameliorate the plight of retired primary school teachers and next of kin to the late Akwa Ibom State teachers. Their unpaid gratuity and other entitlements are alarming. You heard that?
Yeah. You want me to answer that?
Of course.
Great. When this governor came, there were backlogs of gratuity. He paid. And this is not within his time. And I know he's making efforts in pain. By the grace of God, if we have the privilege to serve the Akwa Ibom people, we'll look at what it is and we can sit down and prorate the payment. I believe that people work, they should be paid, they should, but you will also know that if there's a backlog, you can't clear it at once.
Okay.
You have to prorate and make sure that, you know, you get them paid, and over time you are going to cover up.
Very well. The producer has just explained to me that because of our radio audience, especially going over for the TV and online audience, you have it on the screen. The number to send your SMS to is +234 in case you're doing it outside Nigeria, 901-459-8288, +234 901 659-8288, +234 901 659 8288. Joshua Obon, still writing from Facebook, says, please, the boss, ask Pastor Umo Eno at least 3 ways he plans to reduce unemployment in the state. Yes, I know that campaigns have not started, but I am sure when we come to looking a bit at your the blueprint. Yeah, we talk about that. And then I think this is a beautiful point to tell you how we are constituted here. Here you have been interviewed by Akwa Ibom State, the 3 senatorial districts. She comes from Akwa Ibom South, he comes from Akwa Ibom Northwest, and I come from the Northeast, so we cover. So when we come, we discuss that. Who has another message?
Okay, I have one here sent in by Kingsley Jimmy in Uyo. It says, this opportunity given to Pastor Umo Eno to become the next governor of Akwa Ibom State came as a surprise to the people of this great state. It's God's doing, and nobody can stop him except God. So let us give him maximum support. This is not the time to fight him, but join our hands together to project him to the hilltop mansion. Congratulations in advance. You are unstoppable. It came from Kingsley, Jimmy, New York.
All right, let me ask this one. This says, this is from Justice, from my back, I believe so. It says, good evening, sir. This is so great. Please, my question goes thus. Late President Yar'Adua once said that even the process that brought him to power was faulty. Honorable sir, please, what would you say about party politics in Nigeria, especially that which brought you out as the PDP standard bearer? Was the process worthy of emulation? Was it indeed free, fair, credible, and transparent? It says, thank you. This is Justice from my back.
Okay. You want me to answer that? The process, in my opinion, was free, fair, and credible. The Electoral Act said that ad hoc delegates will vote. And the process was carried out. There was an election of ad hoc delegates in Akwa Ibom State all around. You're a journalist, you could find out yourself. And we did all of those. And so ad hoc delegates voted. Now, I'm not in the National Assembly. I didn't write the law. And
come 2023, thou art the next governor of Akwa Ibom State by divine will. It's based on a revelation I had. Agric will make your governments popular. I want to ask, what plans and strategies do you have in place to bring agricultural revolution in Akwa Ibom State? And that's a familiar topic for you.
You see, the truth is there is a blueprint that we have, and I ask Akwa Ibomites to, it's online, you can download the blueprint. We have what I call the Arise blueprint, Arise agenda. And the Arise agenda, agriculture, tourism is on top, rural development, then infrastructural development, then security, then education, then environment. That is Arise agenda. And that Arise agenda speaks to all of the things. The blueprint states all the aspirations that we have and all of the goals that we tend to have from the aspirations, and then the strategies for achieving the goals. And we just feel, without just answering the question, we feel the next administration will be focused on building the local economy and providing jobs, using this Arise agenda for our teaming youth and women, and that's what we're focusing on.
There's a similarity Arise, the cadre of this administration.
We're building, don't forget we are consolidating. And the Dakada philosophy charges the Akwa Ibom people to arise. So, to their faith. And so the Arise agenda, it's just an acronym for the things we want to do. So it's been carefully arranged to flow.
The Dakada philosophy.
With the Dakada philosophy.
Yeah, I know that campaigns have not started. I'm sure the heat of campaigns will still come back. We'll talk with you some more. And then we'll look at even greater details vis-a-vis the Arise agenda. But I'm wondering, you just said now, answering Prof's question, that you are consolidating, clearly consolidating on what Governor Emmanuel and his administration have done. What about the other administrations? What about the Akwa years? What about the Akwa years?
No, the Akwa Ibom has been very well blessed. Every government comes to build on what the other has done, from Obongata, the father of the modern Akwa Ibom, and he had the master plan. And it's like what, Paul the Apostle said, I've laid the foundation, Apollos have watered it, growth will come from God. The truth here is, every government comes and builds. We've been one of the blessed states that has been our story, and we trust that it will be different this time, because there's been the Governor Domi laid the foundation, started all of the infrastructures that you have, Ibom Power and all of that. Then Akwa came, a lot of infrastructure that he did with roads and all of that. Then, of course, His Excellency the Umo Emmanuel came, built on infrastructure, has brought industrialization, has opened Akwa Ibom in terms of land, air, and sea. Ibom Air is the pride of not just Akwa Ibom, but I'm sure pride of Nigerians now. And the deep sea port is coming up. Industries are all there. If you go to Eastern Obolo, you find out a lot of things are going on. There's a petrochemical plant. Boa is in now. And so it's been, we are opening up. What the next government, God giving me the privilege, will be to open up the local economy and create a connect, you know. And what we're doing is to connect the dots and further the prosperity.
Okay.
Dots
I have messages from Ekopima and Sisong, but before I ask that, I just want to take you up on the politics, especially the governorship politics we see in the state. There was from 1999 to 2003 a governor called Ibom, a fantastic governor, who was succeeded by one of his commissioners, and that is now Senator Governorship. And now, in office, is Governor Umo Eno. Something striking, something profound, something not all of people are proud of, is that there's always a chasm between one governor and his successor. You know, there's always some little misunderstanding. There was between Obama on one hand and Governor Governorship as then was. And then when he moved to, there is a chasm between Governor Umo Eno and the man who was his predecessor. You know, so we're beginning to wonder, how are you going to make sure you break these genes? Or is Akwa Ibom ever going to continue like this?
Well, I don't, maybe I should, you need to look at what happened. In the case of the present governor, I'm not sure he had any problem with his boss. You wouldn't say he has a problem with his boss. If anything, I know that the boss abandoned him.
Oh.
You know? Yes.
Okay.
If anything, that's what I know. Okay. You know, I may be wrong, but that's my personal opinion. I don't.
Okay, he moved to another political party.
Yes, I left him. So he had never, I've never heard Governor Umo Emmanuel say one negative thing against his predecessor. I remember on one occasion, I think the former president Olusegun Obasanjo visited, and he said a prayer in church that he prays that his successor will be to him what he is to his predecessor. A man who has not examined himself won't say that kind of prayer. So I may not understand what happened in other cases, but this I have not heard.
So in your own case, it will not happen?
Why would it happen?
Why wouldn't it happen? It's politics.
No, why would it happen?
If the governor comes to your neck, for instance, or the former governor, as he then would be, comes to your neck hereafter.
No,
you need to survive.
You need to know who the Umo Emmanuel is. If you don't know him, then of course a lot of people assume they know him. He's not that kind of man. He's a procedural person, and he has said it many times. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay. You know. Let's go to Ekopima. Great men are rare, and Akwa Ibom is blessed to have you, dear Pastor Umo Eno. We look forward to having a better Akwa Ibom in your time as governor. Congratulations, sir. Sisong, right now, are you going to pay pensions and salaries, Pastor Umo Eno? What will you do differently to stand out? What legacy would you intend to leave behind?
Like I said before, in terms of gratuity, we'll pay pensions too. There are ways you can do these things. There's no mountain you cannot surmount. There's a budget. You sit down, and I've run businesses, we owe banks, and how do we pay? You simply sit down and come to the table and begin to appropriate properly, you pay. There's no reason why you shouldn't pay. People work, they deserve to be paid.
All right.
But you also must know that this present government have had two recessions. Then COVID-19 came in. Lots of things have happened.
All right. I have a question here from Kingsley Johnson. I should ask before I ask my next question, though. It says, good evening to the star-studded lineup of panelists and His Excellency to be Pastor Umo Eno. Sir, do you have plans to appoint more youth into core offices? Secondly, do you think Akwa Ibom youth are ready? This is from Kingsley Johnson.
Good question. Fantastic question. And will we appoint? I'm not appointing. The government belongs to the youth. We are going to work with the youth. We are going to create business opportunities for the youth. We are going to create employment for the youth. And then, the second question he asked, do we think Akwa Ibom youth are ready? I think that is more fundamental, because we need a complete mind shift from this, Onowo syndrome, and which keeps our youth perpetually under slavery, because they wait. I just think it's a mind control thing. Someone comes back and I come back with a bag of money and I throw it and everybody starts fighting over it and they finish it and they look. No, we want our youth to really have a mind shift. There will be jobs through agriculture, through tourism. We are going to create jobs through infrastructural development. We are going to create jobs through rural development. I'm going to be big on rural development, because that's where the majority of the people live. Opening up rural roads, markets, dispensaries. There will be opportunities for our youth.
Okay.
So our youth need to get ready.
Yeah.
And I know that the Akwa Ibom youth, if given the opportunity, will do well. When we go outside our state or outside the country, we're doing excellently well. So why can't we do it here?
Okay.
All right. So
We'll continue with the questions, but I think let's just come back to it.
yeah. Okay. So
Because we need to break away from campaign.
yes, let's
campaign-related questions,
because this is mostly designed to be up
A personality, yes, just for Akwa Ibom people to understand who you are.
We try to run away from campaign content as much as we can. So let's take you back to the issue of your humility. You exude it. You don't just preach it. You practice it. And I'm persuaded to believe that's a combination of the kind of disciplined childhood you had and your foray into the hospitality industry that have combined to mold you to become this humble, this loyal person that you are. But sometimes people might think you're taking it, to the extreme. For instance, when you see a young person and you shake hands with the person with both hands and then address him as sir. Some politicians will look forward to having a governor who will call them by their names, and it brings some kind of bond. It portrays that the fact that the governor knows them by their first name. So how are you going to handle this? It's hard for you to begin to learn new ways. But are you sure this disposition of yours is going to fit into the mindset of a typical Akwa Ibom politician?
You should give people respect. I come from the hospitality industry where I've been in service all my life. I want to be a servant leader. I want to give people their due respect. You serve people, you accord them respect for who they are, except they're my personal friends and we banter. But if I came from an industry where the customer is the king, regardless of age, regardless of if the man is. So if you are called to serve the Akwa Ibom people, you've got to treat them with respect. You are in service, and you are a servant leader. Treat them with respect. I have never, ever called a married woman by her first name. No matter how close we've been. Once you're married, I will not. That's who I am, and I'm not sure. I don't think that should be an issue. Being humble, if you say I'm humble, shouldn't be in the negative, shouldn't be portrayed as something bad.
Okay, let me take this one. Okay, you want to follow up, but let me just put this one because it's very interesting. I like it. It's one of those things that just fly around all over the world. Aswakak Namuko, is that? Namuko. Okay, Aswakak Namuko says, Dear Pastor Umo Eno, is it true that you compulsorily deduct staff salaries in the name of tax, as widely speculated in some quarters?
I like this question.
Right?
I like this. I have heard this. You see, joining politics, I don't know what yet they've not thrown at me. Maybe very soon I'll be told that my mother didn't give birth to me, or maybe I'm not from my village. The truth is, I've asked for one person to be brought, just one person. See, when things are left in the realm of speculation, I've asked one person, show, why do you deduct tithes from people's salary? How? I can't imagine it. For what? On what basis? I have Muslims work for me. I have people that are not even Akwa Ibom work for me. I have people that are not of my church work for me. At a point in this state, we had over 2,500 staffs. So I'm asking, can there be one person that will come out and say, Pastor, this is my payslip, or from my salary you took this as tithe?
So where do all these stories about you
emanate from? You know, people will have to demonize you. People that don't even know you, they will have to demonize you, and fueled by your colleagues, so to say.
You know, but the golden boy, a fantastic gentleman. I don't know, why would they hate you? Yeah.
Well, you know, the truth is nothing good comes easy. I know that absolutely. And so when certain things are said, I just laugh.
And that brings me to, well, all of these discussion brings me to the question of, you know, how are you going to handle? This is just the beginning of, you know, the politicking, and you're seeing, you know, the blows coming left, right, center. How are you going to handle it when it gets dirty? Remember, you are a pastor. So how are you going to handle it to a point where, as he said, you probably don't lose your gentlemanliness?
No, you don't lose. You see, Akwa Ibom minds have discerning minds. We have discerning minds, and so basically, when things are thrown into the public, people, they are discerning minds, and they will know that. And all of this, if it's the will of God and you get into governance, you keep doing your job. My boss have told me severally, stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. Again, you know what that tells me? You have something to offer. That's why everybody is after you.
Okay, quite a while, my boss. So, are you as governor going to be loyal to your political godfather, Governor Emmanuel, or the people of Akwa Ibom State?
First of all, I'd like to answer your question straight, I'll answer in two parts. First, I'll be loyal to God, and I'll be loyal to the Akwa Ibom people. You know, there are things that I'll never do as a child of God. That's clear. Number two, the Kinudom Gabriel Emmanuel has never presented himself to me, and I believe to anyone else, as a godfather. He is my political father. He is a mentor. I'm his mentee, and I will accept that. So, a godfather is, you know, I don't have a godfather.
What does that mean, godfather?
You take instructions. It's a godly figure. No one else will represent God in my life, you know. So, the Kinudom Gabriel Emmanuel is not a godfather. To me, he's my political father. I'm very proud of that because he discovered me. And I'm very, very proud of that. And the things about a mentor and a mentee is you discuss, and even working for him as his commissioner, when you take proposals to him, he discusses it with you. If you have a superior argument, he takes it. If he has a superior argument, you withdraw it. And, you know, when you go to ESCO, he sits and he pours his heart. You could see, you know, the way he takes us along. Our ESCO meeting used to be like a business school, you know. So that's someone mentoring you. But Godfather, maybe where people have problems is where one has to want to play God, you know. And the Kinudom Emmanuel is not that.
Okay, there's a message here. Pastor Umo Eno, I'm passionate about the completion of the Ibom Science Park. Please construct a field in Akwa Ibom State. It will help our economy when you get there. You know, those are not the kind of things you speak to. We just continue.
Yes, okay, so before I take the next set of questions, I'd like to congratulate you, you know, on the selection of running mates. You've created yet another record. This is the first time, oh no, we've had female.
No, this is the first. The other one was appointed.
Yes, the other ones were appointed. So this is the first time will have a purpose-designed, choice of a woman as a running mate.
How many more firsts will come?
Okay, so congratulations on that. Okay, so let me take this.
I just stay on that.
Okay,
because
so,
you brought that up.
so maybe the next question will be, why the choice of Dr. Akwa?
Oh. Do we have to ask that? Why not the choice of Dr. Akwa?
Yeah, because there's so many other people you would have chosen from.
This is a woman who has gathered a whole lot of experience all through her career. She was a commissioner, went on to become a minister, sitting senator of the Federal Republic, and so if I don't have the experience, she has the experience. Right. You have to choose someone that will complement you. So she complements me perfectly.
Okay.
If I come from the business side, she's coming from
the public service side.
Public service side, we complement each other.
Okay, it's good that the right honorable Victor Okono, but by the way, it's also on this program to start learning how we will be relating with you, after 2023. So he just raised Senator Akwa as deputy. I'm wondering how many percent say did you have in that?
It's a collective decision of the party. It's not. There were lots of people that were considered.
Are you happy? Are you?
Yeah, was she your choice?
Our choice. Our choice.
You're happy with it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so we have this message from Dan Kresebier. Good evening, everyone in the studios. Congratulations to Governor Domi Mayel on picking a successor. I celebrate Pastor Umo Eno for accepting to take up the burden of leadership at this period of our collective lives. I also pray for wisdom and grace when he gets there to do all the right things for Akwa Ibom people. Amen. Special thanks to Akwa Michael Bush for making this happen. The first question is, Pastor Umo Eno is a successful entrepreneur. What are his plans to empower Akwa Ibom people with necessary skills in startup and other self-employment ventures? What is his plan?
Right? Yeah.
Could it be? Okay, so we'll leave that.
That's a campaign question.
Okay, so what is his plan to get funding for SMEs that will help the growth of commercial? Okay, so we'll leave that till.
This is basically a statement, not a question per se. Kingsley from Wales says, "Hello, my honourables. I pray that you will take up the mantle. Please, in your government, I want you to turn Akwa Ibom into a small China by extending the development into the communities." He's also asking for financial assistance to start up his own poultry farm. Kingsley from Wales. But let me ask a question, though. This is a statement, not a question. Campaigns haven't started, but I do believe that being the flag bearer of the PDP, you probably may have heard, what people think about you. But my question now is directed towards the youth. Nigeria has a largely young population, and from what we are seeing, young people are mobilizing themselves to go get their PVCs and to go vote come 2023. Akwa Ibom also has a young population. What do you think the young people of Akwa Ibom are saying about you? Have you felt the pulse? Have you done some kind of assessment about what they think about you?
Well, we're working, and I know that the young people, I have a wide range of acceptance from young people who are forward-looking, who want to create a life and a career for themselves. And we'll try to encourage the young ones that who have always been dependent on handouts to begin to see a new horizon and a new dawn, where our youth will be put to work, where they will do entrepreneurial things, where they will be able to fend for themselves. I've said clearly, you can never really do much when people keep giving you crumbs. I've said to the young people, no more crumbs. They must be on the table. They must be on the table. They must have meals on the table. And to do that, again, another adage, when a young child washes his hands clean, he will have a seat at the table. So our young ones will have to understand the need to take the opportunities that will be thrown at them. Several. There are several low-hanging fruits that as we start the campaign, we'll be able to unlock. But there's a blueprint out there that, like I've said, they could study it, and we could discuss. There could be small group meetings, and we could share with them. So I believe that the young people of Akwa Ibom are in for a good time.
Okay. We're going to go on a second and last break. Before we go, I just need to take our time and thank Stephen Bassi from Ibom for writing in, or unfortunately because it's about elections. But the producer says we have 4 more minutes. Okay. I don't know. Times are working. We're all in different time zones. Nato Koko also like to thank you. I don't know whether there's a message or
yes, there is this one. Okay, I've not actually seen the name, but okay, I think it's here. Okay, it says, dear Mr. Bush, thank you for the opportunity for us to comment on your program. My name is Aniekan Tim Umo, founder of the group Diaspora Voices for Umo Eno. We want to assure our principal that we are all strongly behind him. The tempest before him right now will soon be over.
All right, I have this one from...
I like to say, when you read one of those things, you talked about Kingsley, who wants money for poultry. Yes. The truth is, I like to have Kingsley's contact. I will not give money for poultry just like that. I like to meet Kingsley. I like to see his visibility. I like to work with him, and I like to ensure that he actually starts a poultry. That's the kind of person I am. Startups. I'm a startup person, but I've got to work with you. There must be monitoring and evaluation. I'm not just going to be throwing money at people. We must do it right, because once that poultry starts, it's going to engage some other people, and so you create jobs. That's how jobs are created.
So Kingsley from your has to meet you? And,
yes.
So how does he
do that? Like,
I'll just get me his details. I'll contact him.
So we'll get that done. Let me read this one before the break. This is from Victor Udofort from Eket, where you started your business.
Where I live.
Yeah, where you live. It says, good evening, Mr. Bush. I am an ardent listener to all of your programs, and I am especially excited about this one. Please, I would like to hear Pastor Umo Eno tell us his supporters firsthand about the recent court case and the current situation of things. Thank you. You have talked about it. And definitely it's in court, so we can't flog this.
Okay.
Let me quickly assure him. I know he's in court, but I'd like to say that my certificates are clean, and if they find out that it's not, I'm ready to pay the price. Everything about this is just a joke, but it's a joke taken a bit too far. I have not forged anything.
But would you and the man who's taken into court was accused of this ever be friends? Would you ever forgive him, for instance?
I'm a child of God. I don't have any problem. This is what desperation can do sometimes, so you must understand.
All right, well, we're going to take that break, and when we come back, we'll ask more questions.
Yes, especially Libibio, and Prof will not be part of that.
You don't
Okay.
speak Ibibio.
It's a beautiful one. It's the Bush House Nigeria all media special production. The man Umo Eno. I just need to take out 30 long seconds and inform you that this is going to be from the month of July up until June of 2023. This is going to be an every weekday stuff. And I don't understand my producer just speaking about something bad. This is going to be, every weekday program on different platforms, radio, TV, and all of that. And we're working with our sponsors backstage to make sure that happens. And so this is just launching. And our producer for the series, of course, is Raphael Edem. My name is Michael Bush. I'm here with the Right Honorable Columba and, of course, Professor Rose Akai. And we're talking with one man, all of us punching one man, all of us hitting one man, and so far he's done so well. Pastor Umo Eno is the PDP governorship candidate for Akwa Ibom State. Many thanks for staying with us. Okay, so we take the first shot now.
Okay, maybe before we go,
let me just take the first shot because I'm actually going to take 3 shots and then we end. Especially my boro. Si na de ko wa bo. Muro kwa Ibom. Nsuto connection, nsuto good connection, nsuto relationship, nsuto abodioni, nsuto wana, nsuto apoye muro kwa Ibom. Eda kenge kisana fukarame.
Menemboke arutomi ali inam nomle kwa Ibom Elion Elion senke velinam Elion semake nanam kedem. Mugime lina moy ke meni ket kenyen evoke wona manam to defo tangire orise mi koy kombaka des ko go ki ka ofon wen mi ya inu mi se ke ibo wanye to ibo ori ka ofon wen ado yembu me sa ke no fon iso ayro mi tune so gbe me wo ko so na mutom me awase nam mbagu fawa me paso se ba inu itomo ina me kwere do me ba ina mutum aro wonu ni ka fon we be na me o no to wo e da ke me try saro fu ka fon we fo kara no me wutum no me woni ya anam no me wo e do wan e bo fu fo e wan mutum si ba gi jutu me sa na mutum agara na mutum me mbakara ana mutum no mo usu ku ka fon we.
Incoming Right Honorable Toro Columba, Anna was so boy come a koi video because about when I'm the guest in the koi video.
Okay, then boy, I'll probably say, I for on ticket, don't is 1,000 kid. Some get on, some loyalty hotel get on. Yeah. From Keket, Ebogesi come and now bass in a bar, Edio and I was in a bar. So for now, no money kets, free to say for them, Bakari could corporate social responsibility. So now I took more. So my bado Mubegam Fubun, don't go very tune again here. A damn royalty group, a little wow white, Ebaku, yo back a cat. Ben money ni yegi rongo for keke to ngoke mbubegam so okay na manommo
abana ayero do ibo yeri to yem sarum yom boje to yem bora akani ko do da ke mir mo le ke mo lako abai se me ba me mo no di to mo to nam bubere ki so nke asa fon uba tami na mambom di ya ndem bo ke urake me contractor mfene ekere uno mama iko uno bu uno ya freto ekeri bono then ke yero do go yeke iso is idom to yin bu fongwe amindo wo do na mpo ndi wewe nkama nsa because nki di onge mo yari lo governor ntembo ya ngwen na mba mi lo governor but me wo kere ke mi tan want to yin they come from with soil lawyers, soil doctors, soil kakayami. Then Akwan was saying, "I'm kid out for all I said, he come and build on Paula. He mean, for Ibom fund, he see, he don't me doctors, me not Australian, HSM Kweba and Gongon sugar, no more about get down fun. I don't want your Tito community, Ejeto, and clinic days. You remember me that may take some radio, no fun more in no more. You don't get no more that kept by. But you do it to work with that. Get it, and what's going to Eddie, you know, because a few hours we get much like it will give me. I get it, you don't feel me. So something to
the last question in the video, no, let's leave from.
So, I say, Ikoike.
That's a good one.
I mean, the way no make it, no make it. Then we'll make it. So, man,
let me rescue you now that the road is
clear. I do not want to be rescued because I think that I represent the Akwa in the diaspora and I may not properly be able to communicate in the language. And also, for the non-Akwa who are staying in Akwa, I mean, they don't have to be neglected, so I would speak for them at this moment.
Sure. Could we just tidy up that video angle?
Okay.
Yes. Ibom, Umo Eno. Nsudu young pocket advocate na muno kwa Ibom sinam afwe yang ni bo so that state ni me fono kananga.
Obiara wo. Yin ana yin yem so odi di onda. Yin ku word me prophet yin. Yin ku word me prophet. Yin ko ma woro ko mba o sere ko. Na yin pe da gbono me be da yin o so. Ba le bo ya gbono temeka. Ido uso manu fieni kwa mukao bono mana fieni kwa wo bono kana wo tie kitie akonu kan bono ye ton bombe mai dan de kwori ko vasinu ngo poro aro yang ni ku iku bieni no e bia sengri nye ko mai bia no sene ya di
Let's go. We have very little time.
Welcome back to English. So, all right, this is not demeaning the language.
So,
let me ask you. Akwa Ibom is not, it's not a state in a vacuum. We are in Nigeria, and we see what's happening in Nigeria. A little bit of your knowledge about, what currently is going on, economy-wise, politically, everything basically in Nigeria. What are your thoughts about what's happening in the country?
My thoughts, things have gone really bad. And it's about leadership. So that's why we need to get our PVC, that's why we need to go out there to be able to look at leaders, people that will do the right thing. I believe if we have the right leadership in this country, it will take care of a whole lot of things. Not just the right leadership, leaders that are willing to do what it takes. Leaders who are willing to pay the price of leadership.
As it is right now, can we get that kind of leadership? Because if we look at the different political parties and what's happening, there seems to be some form of stronghold, or so to say, the gods of politics who are holding on to power and are trying as much as possible not to let the kind of leadership you say get into power. So how do we break that stronghold?
God is doing a new thing. That's why some of us are in there now. God is doing a fantastically new thing. And we will, the Bible says, I'm doing a new thing, will you not say? And I'm sure when that new thing comes, when it dawns on us that we're there, things will work.
Nigeria is a very godly nation. I mean, we prayed, we told God, we do this. Yet we see what is happening in the country.
It's not about prayer.
Is it not time we moved away from all of this?
No. You can't move away. Blessed is the nation whose God is Jehovah. So you can't move away from it. The truth
but have we not relied so much on God and probably left what we have to do?
No. See, relying on God doesn't take away our responsibility. Paul the Apostle said something very, very, fundamental to me. He said, though I was the least of all the apostles, but I worked more than them all. So he carried grace, he was the least, but he worked.
Okay.
You know?
Let's go progress because we have very little time. I think about 10 minutes to say our bye-byes on the program. There's still some very important thing we need to do before we round off. A number of things we've been doing, Pastor Umo Eno, since 2018 on our programs, and today we'll try and catch your takes on all of them. Number one is Udom Legacy Nigeria. 29th of May 2023, Mr. Dumimaro will no longer be governor of Akwa Ibom State. Thereafter, how would you, Pastor Umo Eno, remember him?
Remember him as the man that God brought to open up Akwa Ibom State economically through the land, air, and sea. Remember him as the man who pioneered industrial revolution in Akwa Ibom State and who connected Akwa Ibom to the world. That's the legacy he has left behind, and those are all over the place, you can see. This man will be celebrated. You know one thing we're good at? All of this talk about Udom not doing this, not doing this. When Udom leaves office, and by the grace of God I take over, I'll be the one to pay the price because he will be celebrated much more. We're good at celebrating people when they leave office. We should celebrate them now. He's done so much, and so there'll be lots of things to be.
Okay, so before we round off, I'd like to ask, your party, the People's Democratic Party, has made a choice for who is going to fly its flag during the presidential election that holds in the first quarter of next year. And many pundits have the opinion that the party erred to have picked someone again from the north. Do you think that was the right decision?
I will like to say that it's our party. They've picked, we've picked, and so I won't sit here to criticize the party I belong. You know, it's not politically correct, and we take absolute responsibility for what has happened. That's our choice.
Okay, the other thing we've been doing since 2018 that we also need to speak to is the Akwa Ibom of your dream. Pastor Umo Eno, what is the Akwa Ibom of your dream?
The Akwa Ibom of my dream is to see a liberated Akwa Ibom. An Akwa Ibom where our young ones, our women, our men will be liberated. They can fend for themselves, they can walk, and they can be happy. That's the Akwa Ibom of my dream.
Okay.
Before the boss wraps up this particular interview, we've said that this is the beginning of a series, and we haven't touched so much on, you know, the campaigns and what you have to do due to the fact that the lead has not been taken off yet. But I must ask you, if 2023 comes, you have spoken so positively, there's a lot of, I think you believe that you may win come 2023. If that doesn't happen, what next?
I will win by the grace of the Almighty God. God has never lost any battle, and He's not going to begin with it.
So this is a spiritual thing now, it's not physical. We're voting.
Well, the physical is controlled by the spiritual. I know I will win. And again, it's not going to be a do or die thing. I'm not saying I must win by force. I know the Akwa Ibom people. I know they know what they want. I know they want peace. I know they want progress. I know they don't want to get back to those days where people were killed and kidnapped and bloodshed was all over the place. I know that the Akwa Ibom people are sleeping with their eyes closed today. And I know they want to continue that trajectory. So that's what this election is all about.
You know, I know that the right honorable Victor Kolumba would like to join in and ask a couple of questions before we round up. But I just want to be your metamorphosis, your transformation in politics. I don't know. Is it as if you knew politics all along, you were interested in politics all along? Because even the way you sound now, sometimes I'm wondering, is it still the same Pastor Umo Eno, or so what has happened to you politically?
One, my political mentor, that's number one. Number two, forget about this talk, I didn't go to school. I read political science, I'm doing my PhD right now. So I may not be politics, I may not have been there, But I think I know what politics is all about.
Okay, so before your emergence, you crisscrossed the length and breadth of Akwa Ibom, consulting, reaching out to people, and you were received. You went through the entire hawk of the entire state. Let's look at the demographics. Where would you say your strength lies? If you look at, the youths, the women, the elders, because these are things you must bring to the table even as you go into the elections.
Well, we're looking at that. You don't have to really have strength in one area. You must understand that you have to have strength with the youth, the women, the elders. And I think it cuts across. You need to have what they need. Like I said, when you look at our blueprint, you will see all of that. I believe when the campaign starts, you bring me back and we'll be able to talk about serious campaign issues and what we have to offer based on what we've done before. You see, that's why the governor said, if you can't manage a kiosk, you can't manage a supermarket. Let's look at somebody said the other day, and I need to say this, said that they went and brought one man who was running a hotel. If that man has run his hotel and has run it well, that you sleep in that hotel, you beg for rooms to sleep in that hotel, man, don't you think the man has done something good? To run a hotel is one of the most difficult things to do. And you run and I kept it consistently for 25 years.
A quarter of a century.
I mean, it's not a joke.
The last thing that would always happen with all the guests who come on demand, Umo Eno, radio, TV, online, on the web series, would be prayer for you. People would be praying for you when they come on the program. But you can't pray for yourself. Even though I'm wondering what you like people to pray for you, you can hint that. But today, I would like you to do something else that we also do for Akwa Ibom State. We've been doing that since 2018, and that is prayer for Akwa Ibom State. What kind of prayer? How would that prayer sound if it came from you in 1 minute?
Prayer for Akwa Ibom State. May the Lord uphold the leadership of the state and make us continue to walk in the path of righteousness. May the Lord bless Akwa Ibom people and give us discerning spirit. Protect us as we go along. May the Lord keep Akwa Ibom out and our borders safe and protected so that we continue to live in peace and tranquility.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen. Pastor Umo Eno, I think that's a fantastic place to live it. The Right Honorable Victor Okonumba, I'd like to thank you for honoring us when we invited you to join this Bush House Nigeria special production. You came. I'd like to thank you. And we're going to be running it together. You have yours on some radio station or TV station. She will have us. I'll have mine, our producer. I don't know. You'll be producing here and all that, and sometimes also presenting. Our producer used to be a very good presenter. Of course, we have Oluchi Arisa and Godwin James, and the rest of the people, especially the head of office, David Dem, they will also be doing that at Bush House, Nigeria. We just planned this one out. Professor Rose, let me also thank you. Coming here tonight to join us and always supporting us at Bush House, Nigeria is something that really, entraps me, and I'd like to thank you. Many, many thanks for coming. And I hope that you now like him. You'll be voting for him when that time comes.
Why do you have to say that?
Okay. I'm the boss.
I'm the boss. Before we go, how was the interview? This is probably what's the first time?
Yeah, sure. It sat down like this.
Yeah,
he liked it. He's the golden boy.
It's good. You're prepared for all of this. Don't forget I'm a pastor.
Yeah, sure.
Well, politics is very different.
Okay. It's different. It's about people, not the same.
Can I just invite you to please rise? All of us, can we rise? Another men, just going to stand by. We're going to go. Let's stand.
Thank you.
There is something, very nice to be here. When it's consulted, producer, please come on set. Producer, come on set, please. There is something that will always happen on our programs. I think every quarter we're going to be giving this out to any young Akwa Ibom person that we see is deserving. Can I also invite my own immediate boss to please come on set? And that is Mr. Creator. Just come on set, can stand just by his side. Even Commissioner Charles Doyle can also get on set. It's also pretty great. And just a producer, he will take this to the man, and he will read out who it is, and we give that award to before we round off. Really, let's just take it. He will read out, of course. They just stand by his side. Just take it down.
No, since it is about him, I would think.
No, it's not about him.
Okay.
It's not about him. He's the one to read and present.
Okay.
He's going to present that.
To who?
Yes. Okay, so is that winner in the building? Okay, let us go. You know, there are young people who are doing wonderful work. You know, we only see the people insult people on social media, but this young man, anytime you put something about a program, something of value online, he runs with it. He carries it as if he's on a payroll. He's not on a payroll. I just thought that on the first edition of this program, of this series, the man, Umo Eno, we should come here and honor him. So, the Bush House Nigeria All Media Production, the man Umo Eno, running on air, online. Okay, all right. Okay, let's go.
Well, he's already taken the first part, so let's go to this award of #1 foot soldier of the Man Umo Eno series. It's presented to you, Uforo Samuel Ibom, this day, Thursday, 23rd June 2022, during the launch of the series in Uyo, Nigeria. Congratulations, signed by Michael Bush, the boss, Bush House. Thank you. Congrats.
It's so good. This boy is so good.
That's hard work.
Yes.
This is the generation of youth who want to race.
Absolutely. He's always online supporting. He never insults anybody. He just carries that. And yes, Uforo, you're not just going to have an award. We also, I don't know, producer, can we give him 100,000 cash? Okay, so we'll also do you 100,000 cash on behalf of.
Add another 150.
All right. Okay. Okay, so that's been this edition of the program. I producer, many thanks, everyone. Dan Prisebia and the Bush House Nigeria people. Not forgetting Solomon Eyo and his people, Ane Kemefimba, the spokesperson for the Umo Eno campaign organization, that is my former boss, Chris Sabasio. Not forgetting Mr. Netusen, who is also doing something for the campaign, and everyone on your behalf. This is Michael Bush saying goodbye. God bless Akwa Ibom State.
Bye.
Bye.